Okay, let's call this meeting to order. I'm going to wave the flag salute. Sunshine law statement, all requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the Record and Town News and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Darian, would you read the mission statement?
Yes. The Oradell Public School District is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students for lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive, and responsible citizens.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Castro?
Here.
Mr. Griffin?
Did you hear me?
Here. Mrs. Levy? Here.
Here.
Mrs. Norian?
Here.
Ms. Shapiro?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Darian?
It's like a delay.
Here.
Mrs. Nichols?
There's a delay for me.
Here.
Yeah,
Wait for everybody.
there's
No.
a delay here as
We're
well,
open
some
to the
lag.
public for agenda
Yeah.
items. We're going to open to the public for agenda items only. Raise your hand, public, and we'll unmute you. So it's open to the public. Okay, not seeing any, we'll move forward. I'm going to skip right to the superintendent's report. Mrs. Longo?
None at this time.
Thank you. Business administrator's report, Mr. Marmora?
Thank you. I'd just like to report that right now the business office is beginning the process of closing out the 2019-2020 school year by making final purchases and forecasting projections to see where the district will end up financially. Also during this time, we are finalizing entering the 2020-2021 budget into the district's accounting software system. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving to minutes, review of May 13th. Any questions or comments, please email our business administrator. We have approval of minutes for April 29th. Do we have a motion?
Move that we approve the
So
April
moved.
29th minutes.
Moved by Mr. Walsh. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Norian. Any questions?
Mr.
Call the
Castro?
question.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Ms. Shapiro?
Yes,
Mrs. Walker? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Moving on to committee reports, administrative items. Mr. Darian, would you take A1 and 2?
Yes, I would like to introduce items A1, And A2.
I'll second it.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions?
I'll second it.
Call the question?
Mr.
Do we want to
Castro?
read that?
Oh,
Do we want to read that A2 out loud or no?
I mean, it's special ed week. I don't know. It's up to the board. If you want to read it out loud, do you want to read it?
Go ahead.
I think it would be
You
nice.
can go ahead. Start it, Robin.
We tend to read some of the.
All right, so I'll call out people's names. Robin, you start.
Proclamation declaring May 10th, 2020 through May 16th, 2020 as Special Education Week. Whereas more than 232,500 children receive special education instruction, are enrolled in New Jersey's public and private schools.
Mr. Griffin?
Whereas approximately 18,000 children who receive special education instruction are enrolled in preschool and early intervention programs in New Jersey, and
Mrs. Shapiro?
Let me just, am I muted? Okay, we're good. Whereas thousands of parents, teachers, child study team members, and school administrators generously give their time and energy to support the learning needs of students who receive special education, and
Mr. Castro?
Whereas since 1985, the New Jersey School Board Association and ASAH, Association of Schools and Agencies for the Handicapped, serving private special education communities since 1974, have sponsored Special Education Week in New Jersey, and
Mrs. Walker?
I'm lost here. Where are we?
You're on the 5th paragraph,
The-
the theme for Special Ed Week.
Therefore,
It's under
let
N.
me pass that on.
All right, Mrs. Dorian, take that one and the next one.
Okay, whereas the theme for Special Education Week 2020 is creating, learning, growing, and whereas the public school districts and the private schools of New Jersey make a major contribution to the public welfare by preparing thousands of exceptional persons to participate as citizens of this and as members of society.
Mr. Walsh?
And therefore, be it resolved that the Oradell Board of Education does hereby recognize the week of May 10th through May 16th, 2020 as Special Education Week.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Castro?
yes.
Mr. Griffin?
yes,
Mrs. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
yes,
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Darian?
Yes, we have not had a meeting, subcommittee meeting before our last meeting. So I have nothing new to report other than we're scheduling a meeting tomorrow. And we'll be discussing end of the year projects, end of the year, school year, projects that are done over the summer. and prioritizing them from a building and grounds perspective. And we'll make recommendations at our next meeting.
Thank you. Curriculum, Mrs. Norian?
Yes, we don't have, we haven't had a meeting and we don't have a report at this point in time, but I just wonder if Superintendent Longo would look at the schedule and talk with the administrators and find out when it would be appropriate to follow up and see a compilation, something about what's been done on our remote learning and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and maybe then we'll go ahead. I mean, of course, there's no ugly. Everything's gone perfectly well for us, but then we can take a look at it, find out things that we did right, things that we've maybe have to improve upon, because we don't know where we're going to go at this point in time. We just need to be prepared for whatever is happening.
Okay,
I'll send something. Schedule a meeting.
I'll send something out tomorrow. I'll speak with the administrators and send something out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to put them in an awkward position because I know they're still doing school day things. So I was really kind of waiting until the end of the school year so that we could then look at what actually has happened for the whole period of time.
Yeah, we should be getting some news from the county as well this week, so with some direction. So that would help with their planning.
Okay, good, good, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, I think in the newsletter, that's the rough draft of the newsletter we received today from Mrs. Longo. There is a whole article there. The PR committee received that about a summary of some of the things that we're doing as far as remote learning goes. So there is something in that that's going out to the community shortly.
Well, I appreciate that it's going out to the community, but I think the curriculum committee needs to take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Finance, Mrs. Shapiro?
Sure. Okay, so I have two things to discuss before I present. First is the statement. Every year during budget season, the board carefully reviews all contracts. When we started this year's budget process at the $700,000 deficit, maintaining current staff and classroom sizes, we had work to do and were able to achieve a balanced budget and our goals. At our last board meeting, the board approved the switch from our private health insurance, Horizon, to the New Jersey State Plan, which is also a Horizon plan. This plan enables faculty and staff to keep their current doctors, especially during the pandemic, while providing lower premiums. It was a win-win for all. Something we have to keep an eye on is further budget constraints. This year may especially be challenged given the governor's executive order, which allows the municipality to delay payments to the school districts, as well as potential reductions in state aid. As always, we will remain vigilant to provide the best resources to our students. Okay, so that's that. And then the next thing before I wanted to present is I wanted to highlight item D6. It's a donation from the Phillips Fund. It is in memory of Phil Begonia, who was an OPS alum many years ago. And they provided a donation to the Oradell Public School Auditorium Improvement Fund in honor of this year's 6th grade class. So I wanted to take a moment to thank the Phillips Fund for doing that for our students and our school. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve items D1 through D6.
I'll second it.
I'll second
A
it.
second? Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Any questions? Call the
Mr.
question.
Castro,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mrs. Levy,
Yes.
Mrs. Norrian,
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. Delegate report, Mr. Walsh.
I have no report at this time.
Personnel, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, thank you. We had no meeting in the past week, but I would like to present F1.
I'll second it.
Go ahead, second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions?
I have a question. So in the personnel report, item C1, I believe there's a typo for the salary not to exceed. If you could correct that before this gets memorialized. Do you see page 2 at the top?
There's an extra zero. Yeah, there's an extra zero.
Yeah. So just make a note. So we'll prove this is amended.
Oh,
Good catch.
and
Which one are you looking at on C1?
yeah.
I also have a
Wait,
question
wait,
for,
Greg, which one are you looking at on? Wait a second. Wait, Mrs. Walker, 1 second. Greg, which one?
It's item C,
What number? You-
E1,
Person
under
number
the
one.
salary.
Right. Right.
under salary not to exceed.
Under salary.
It's 2,
Yeah.
comma 4900. Is
Oh,
that
I don't have that on mine.
24,900? Oh,
All right, it's 2,400. That's what's on my copy. So I didn't know what, because mine's right. So, okay, so 2,400 is
Okay,
the
so-
current
so
one
the
we have
9
now.
the 9 is
nine is
The
misplaced.
9 is, I
Okay.
guess. Okay, Mrs. Walker?
also I have a question for D. The folks that are listed their approval of extended school year, is that for curriculum writing?
This is for, I believe, our
Extended
special
school-
ed program, they're
Special
kids
ed.
that need extended school year. Right.
Okay, so it doesn't have to do anything with curriculum writing?
No.
No.
It's the special ed program for the summer for our special ed students.
Okay.
It's the extended
So,
year
do
program
we
that
have
we talked
any-
about.
So
Mrs. Shapiro?
item
Right.
E on page
Okay.
3, yeah, is that 2020?
Right.
This summer?
Right. Yes, that's the 2020, you're right.
But the other ones, C and D, those are extended school year. Those years are correct, right? Because it's an extension of the current school year.
Mhm.
Hold on.
It says 2020 though.
Yeah, if it's extended school year, it should be 2020,
Yeah.
2021
So that's
school
right,
year.
but E should definitely be 2020.
Mhm.
Yeah, because of next year's
Right.
budget, right?
Yes.
Should those all say
Okay.
2021?
So we need,
And so E is also saying approval of 2019-20 extended school year.
Should be
So we
2021.
wouldn't have the 19, right?
20, right, so it's all 2021.
Yes.
I would, yes. So we'll take out the 19.
But
So that goes for all of them too. F,
Yes.
So it goes by the budget year, not by the school year that the extended year is for,
Yes.
John? So it's by budget year, right? So it doesn't matter that we're extending 1920, it's 2021 extended school year.
Yes, it's
Because we're paying it
2020,
next year?
2021 school year. Yes.
But extended school
Mhm.
year is 2021?
okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Mr.
Call the
Castro?
question?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Yes,
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Policy, Mrs. Levy?
Yes, we did not meet since the last meeting. In our last meeting packet, you had the notes on our previous meeting. I offered G1 a second reading and adoption of policies listed.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
second,
Second.
Second by Mr. Wall. Any questions? Call the
Mr.
question?
Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mrs. Shapiro?
yes,
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Public relations, Mr. Griffin?
Yeah, we met earlier this week and are in the process of reviewing the final board newsletter that's coming out in June. The newsletter will be we'll send it to the board once before it goes out, but it will be going out soon. And also discussed surveys, as we mentioned in our last board meeting, the idea of like getting feedback from parents and teachers on how this has gone. The administration is working on surveys now, And before they go out, we'll have a chance to look at, review, and potentially add any additional questions we have. So my request to the board is if there are any questions you have that you think should be asked, please send them to myself or Ms. Longo, interim superintendent, so we can pull those together. That's it.
Thank you. We're open to the public. Just raise your hand and we will unmute you. Okay, not seeing any. We'll move forward. Does anybody have any old or new business?
There is a
Dorothy,
hand up.
we have
it
a-
popped up again.
There's a hand up.
Yeah. Can Mr. Marmara, can you unmute Mrs. Pisa?
Okay.
Go ahead, Mrs. Pisa.
Hi, so I was just wondering on the personnel agenda in regard to the extended school year. I know the classroom teacher portions were posted outside the office before we went virtual. I was wondering when or if the positions for attending the child study team meetings were posted.
I'll turn that over to Mrs. Longo.
I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to check with Miss Disler on that. I'll check for you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to old and new business. Mr. Marmara, can you mute the other mic? Any old or new business? Mrs. Shapiro, is that your hand?
Yeah, that's me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question directed for Mrs. Longo. As you know, Governor Murphy produced a new executive order about graduations, and sixth grade parents are inquiring about what may happen with OPS. Could you address that for us, please?
Yes, and in his memo, he mentioned graduating from middle school, high school, and colleges. I received word today from the county also, so sixth grade is not included in his, sixth grade and any other promotion ceremonies are not included in his, the resolution that he came out with. I believe it was yesterday.
Okay. So we are continuing
so-
virtual as,
Absolutely, yes. Mhm.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Mrs. Levy?
Yeah, can all of the board members be, get the information about the virtual graduation, just out of curiosity? I haven't seen anything about it.
I can send it to you. I have it, and I can send it to everyone. And but if you tomorrow we have a
Thank
meeting
you.
with the county, and they're going to go over that. So I'll make sure I get that to you. And then the guidelines for graduation, the meeting that the state was going to have for the guidelines for graduation was postponed now until Thursday at 12:30. So I'll probably miss it because my meeting is in the morning, and by the time the county superintendents get back to us. But I'll send you what I have now, and then I'll send you the update that I get after the task force meeting.
Okay. Any other old or new business?
What is a delay?
So that's what I want to talk about, actually. Our first meeting was our best meeting online. And last time went a little, and tonight has been terrible. Is there any reason that we were so good the first meeting and it's just gotten progressively worse? Is there anything we can do about this?
I think it's the popularity of everyone staying home.
Mr. Griffin?
Yeah, I mean, I know that Zoom itself has had multiple times recently where they've had issues. There was an article not too long ago about like Sunday that all like churches and all that they couldn't operate because of it. I think Mr. Darian is exactly right. It's the number of people using it, and it's going to vary. I will say from my perspective, when I use this tool from work, 98.9% of the time it works extremely well. So I don't know what that means for tonight, but most of the time this does work very well.
Just because we're using a free version, can we upgrade to a paid version? It would work better.
This
Never
is a
mind, we
paid
are
This is a
paying, I
paid
was told.
version, yeah.
Yeah, this is a paid version, yeah. This is the webinar
Last
version,
time,
yeah.
this time progressively worse. Maybe we can look into it. Okay, any other older new business?
I have. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So in our board packet was a copy of this revised health related closure preparedness plan.
Yes.
So in here, they have, roles and responsibilities of everyone, what attendance and what type of attendance. They also mentioned on pages 12 and 13, a little bit about curriculum. And so, I want to chime in with what Ms. Norian said. I'd be really interested to see from a curriculum perspective what we're doing in September, because as far as I know, I think it's 50-50 that we're going to have a semi-normal year. So I think we need to be prepared. So I'd like to see that before we get too late into the summer. That's all.
Ms. Levy?
Thank you, Mr. Darian. I completely agree. I also think I'm no longer a member of the PR committee, and I just wanted to say that I think it's also really important that we get feedback from the community and parents on how they think it's going or how it went. And I also think, I know that whatever plans are being made, I think it would be great if the board is kept, up to date on those. And also, I know that a lot of information, speaking as both a parent and a board member, there used to be updates on a regular basis. And I know that people feel like they're getting a lot of information. I just personally feel, and as I talk to other parents, that as much information as possible would be helpful to be given. I think everybody is feeling very stressed at these times, and I think that the power of information is probably very helpful. So I just wanted to add that, and I hope that as the year is coming to a close and how all those policies and things will happen, I think it's really great if parents knew what was coming down the.
Any other older new business? Mr. Griffin?
I lost it.
I want to echo the sense of wanting to hear what the plan is. I know it's very hard because we don't know what the state's going to require yet. One thing I would challenge our administrative staff and the teachers to think about is, like when you look at these CDC guidelines, it really is difficult to think about how we could have education in that. And I think whatever we are imagining for the future, education should be the primary first goal. Like, obviously, we're going to have to keep our children safe. We're going to have to keep our staff safe. But I would rather build what's best for education first and then fit in all the things that we need to do to keep people safe on top of that. So just, as we're imagining this, just keep that in mind. I don't want any of our students to get second class because we have to have these adjustments. In the end, we need to be performing at a high level and reimagining what that is. So I just would say that.
Any other business? Any need to go into a closed session?
Not unless you have
Motion to
something.
adjourn? Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Okay, everybody. Have a good night.
Good
Night.
night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.